Aminbeg. A long time ago, and a long way away, there once lived an old couple who had a son called Aminbeg. Aminbeg's parents wanted him to become a merchant who bought and sold things at the market, but the boy was much more interested in science and the arts, and he hated the idea. All the same, when he turned 16, his parents gave him 100 gold coins and sent him on a long journey, saying, "You must visit faraway cities, our son, and learn everything a good merchant should know." Aminbeg set off. He walked until he reached a big city, and he spent the night at an inn. Lying in his bed, he wondered what exactly he should learn, but before he could make up his mind, he fell fast asleep. When the boy woke up the next morning, he heard someone shouting under his window. On the edge of the city lives a 100-year-old man. If you want to learn how to write, go to see him, and he'll teach you. Aminbeg was very excited. He immediately got out of bed and went to the old man's house. When he opened the door, the man smiled. "I will teach you to write in 1 year. All it will cost you is 100 gold coins." And that's just what happened. A year later, Aminbeg was able to write so beautifully that everyone was amazed. But not only did he write beautifully, he was also so skillful that he only had to see someone's handwriting once, and he could imitate it perfectly. He said goodbye to the old man, packed his bag, and went back home to his parents. When they found out that their son hadn't done what they asked, Aminbeg's parents were very upset. Once more, they gave him 100 gold coins, saying, "Now this time, you really must learn to be a merchant." So Aminbeg set off a second time. In the evening, he reached another big city, and he went to an inn. Just like the last time, he fell asleep wondering what to do with his life. The next morning, when Aminbeg looked out of the window, he heard someone shouting. "In the middle of the city lives a man with a red beard. If you want to learn how to play chess, go to see him, and he'll teach you." "That's it," Aminbeg thought to himself, and he hurried to visit the man with the red beard. They agreed that for 100 gold coins, the man would teach the boy how to play chess in the space of a year. And that's just what happened. A year later, he was so good at the game that he could beat the most famous chess players in the land. He said goodbye to the man with the red beard, packed his bag, and went back home to his parents. Just like before, his parents were very disappointed. "We earned that money with our hard work, and you've just wasted it." In the end, though, they calmed down and gave him yet another 100 gold coins, saying, "This time you absolutely have to learn to be a merchant." Just like on his previous trips, on the first evening of his new journey, Aminbeg arrived at a big city, and again he slept at an inn. The next morning, when he stepped out into the street, he saw a man who was calling out in a loud voice, "In the market square lives a musician. If you want to learn how to play the violin, go to see him, and he'll teach you." Feeling incredibly excited, Aminbeg immediately went to see the musician. "Let me be your pupil, and I'll give you 100 gold coins." After a year, he could play the violin so beautifully that even his teacher was amazed. Once again, Aminbeg went back home. But when he told them what he had learned, his parents were more furious with him than ever. They felt so ashamed at having such a good-for-nothing son that they couldn't bear to face their neighbors, and they decided to move to a different village. The family quickly packed up their belongings and set off on their journey. They hadn't been travelling long when they became hungry, but when they searched for a few coins, they found that they had no more money left. Amin Beg's parents shouted at their son angrily, "You're the cause of all our problems. We had to leave our village and now we can't even afford a loaf of bread, and it's all because of you." Just then, a caravan of camels passed by. Without thinking twice, the boy's parents sold him to the caravan master. Amin Beg travelled on with the caravan, and they soon came to a desert where everything was as dry as a bone. The men became very thirsty, but after a long search they finally found an old well. The camel drivers tied a bucket to a long rope and then lowered it into the well, but when they pulled it back up, the bucket didn't have a single drop of water in it. "All right, boy, you try," said the caravan master to Amin Beg. "Maybe you'll have better luck." And with that, they put the bucket in Amin Beg's hand, tied a rope around his waist, and lowered him down. When he had reached the bottom of the well, the boy looked around. But instead of water, all he could see was a large stone. When he looked closer, he noticed that a faint light was glowing beneath it. Amin Beg lifted the stone, and he was instantly blinded by a dazzling flash. He had uncovered a deep hole, which was filled to the brim with gold. Without thinking twice, he filled the bucket and shouted for it to be pulled up. The camel drivers were delighted, and they lowered the bucket once more. When the last grain of gold was gone, Amin Beg tied the rope around his waist again. "Help me get back out," he called. But when he was only halfway up the well, the men started talking among themselves. "If we pull him up," they said, "he'll claim all of the treasure for himself." So they cut the rope, and the poor boy fell back down to the bottom of the well. For a while he just lay in a daze, and then he began wondering how he could escape from his underground prison. As he began to grope in the dark, his hand bumped against a heavy iron plate. He lifted it and saw a twisting tunnel. Amin Beg bravely set off down the tunnel, and before long he reached an enormous cave. At the back of the cave he spotted a figure who looked sad and sick and tired. It was the spirit of the wells. The boy approached and bowed respectfully. The spirit growled angrily, but Amin Beg wasn't the least bit afraid. Just then he spotted a violin in the corner and asked if he could take a look at it. The next moment he began to play the instrument, and the music he made was so beautiful that the spirit of the wells was cured of his illness in the blink of an eye. "How did you get here?" asked the spirit, who was feeling much friendlier now, and Amin Beg told him all about how the greedy camel drivers had treated him. "You don't know how much you have helped me," said the spirit, "but now let me help you." And with that, he put the boy on his back, and a second later they were standing by the top of the well. Then the spirit gave Amin Beg a donkey and sent him on his way. Amin Beg soon caught up with the camels. When the caravan master looked behind him, he couldn't believe his eyes. He thought the boy was dead. Very quickly, the man wrote a letter and handed it to Amin Beg, saying, "Ride to the city as fast as you can and deliver this to my wife." Amin Beg set off at once, but he felt very suspicious, so as soon as he had left the caravan behind, he opened the letter. And this is what it said. "Kill the boy who gives you this, and bury his body so that no one will ever find it." Without hesitation, Amin Beg tore the letter up and wrote another in its place, closely imitating the handwriting of the caravan master. "Welcome the boy who gives you this. Take him into our house. Give him food and drink. Treat him well until I return." Sometime later, Amin Beg arrived at the caravan master's house, and he handed the letter to the man's wife. When the woman read her husband's words, she smiled and led the boy inside. She fed him, gave him water, and made sure he was very comfortable. When it was late, Amin Beg went to bed, but before he did so, he looked out of the window. He saw that all of the houses in the city were in darkness except for the biggest one of all, where the windows were brightly lit up. "Why is someone burning candles at this time of night?" he asked the woman. "Who lives in that house?" "That's no house," she replied. "It's a palace. The lord of the city lives there. He loves chess, and I bet he's still playing now. He's almost unbeatable, but they say that he'll give all his power and wealth to whoever defeats him in a game." As soon as the sun had come up, Amin Beg went to the palace. "How can I help you, my friend?" asked the lord. "I've heard that you're very good at chess, and that no one can beat you," replied Amin Beg. "I've come to try my luck." "Very well," smiled the man. "If you win, my power and my wealth are yours. But if I win, your head is mine." "It's a deal," said Amin Beg bravely. And with that, they sat down at the chessboard to play. Amin Beg won 3 games in a row. He was just about to set up the board for a 4th game when the lord stopped him. "I'm old. I'm tired of governing this city. I've been looking for the right person to take over from me, and I do believe I have just found him." So it was that Amin Beg became the new lord of the city and received all of the old man's wealth. In the meantime, the caravan arrived, and the caravan master hurried home. "Well, my wife, did you do what I told you to in my letter?" "I did," replied the woman. "I welcomed the boy. I fed him and treated him like he was our own son." "Oh, you fool!" shouted the caravan master. "That's not what I wrote at all. Fetch me that letter, and I'll read it to you if you're so brainless." The woman handed her husband the letter, but when he read it, he could hardly believe his eyes. This is what it said. "Welcome the boy who gives you this. Take him into our house. Give him food and drink. Treat him well until I return." The caravan master was so angry he didn't know which way to turn. "Where is the little devil?" he screamed. "In the palace," said his wife. "He's the new lord of the city." Not long after that, Amin Beg's parents arrived in the city. They were now sorry that they had wanted to make their son a merchant, but when they saw him standing on the balcony of the beautiful palace, they were overjoyed. He had grown up to be not just a man, but a lord. With his thirst for science and the arts, he had realized his dreams. As lord of the city, Amin Beg built many schools. All of the citizens became educated and cultured, and Amin Beg's fame spread all over the world.